So now with 45-degree lighting and 45-degree lighting feathered, with a lighter backdrop, you're really not going to notice a major difference. You are, however, going to notice a difference when you have, say, a dark purple backdrop or dark blue. So what I'd love for you to do is, after you finish watching this segment, go and practice. If you're able to practice the 45-degree lighting and 45-degree lighting feathered on a dark backdrop, just to see the difference, and you can choose which you prefer in your work. So next I'm going to do, and what I would do in a typical workflow is I would do a taco flip. So I'm going to show you just quickly how I'm going to wrap the baby and how I'm going to light it. So now that I have baby on her back, we want to be very mindful of where we're lighting the baby from. So you've got a couple options here. You can either move your light or you can move the backdrop. I love being able to move my backdrop because it's just, I find it easier for me. I mean, it's virtually easy to move both. I'm going to move the backdrop just to show you where I would place the light. I prefer to have baby lit from the head down. You could light it from the side. Basically, you're pretty safe lighting from all this area here. The area you don't want to light from is up the bum. You don't want to uplight. So when you're doing a taco flip, you want to make sure that the light is always gliding down baby's head. You don't want to have it uplighting because that'll give you those harsh shadows and it just looks really off. It's kind of like sticking like a flashlight under your nose. Just doesn't look good. So I think that I'm going to maybe side light it this time. And I'll show you what it looks like. And again, this is really at a 45-degree angle as well, if you can see where the light is in comparison to my baby. Now I just gotta grab a different lens. Now I'm going to be using, I was shooting with my 50mm, and I find with overhead shots, I definitely need a wider angle lens because I need to be able to get more of the backdrop in. I'm going to be using the 24-70. It's a zoom lens. It's a great lens. I love it. So we're going to quickly switch that out. As you can also notice, so the first thing I did is I slipped the camera strap over my neck. You have to pinky swear, promise me that you're going to be the safest photographer on the block because whenever you are over a baby, this thing needs to be supported. If you happen to drop it, you don't want to drop it on that baby. So camera safety and strap safety is paramount with overhead shots. Now because this lens is a 2.8, I'm going to have to raise my ISO just up a smidgen. I could raise my power of my light, but I find this to be just a little bit faster. Now what I love to do is taking advantage of every pose. So instead of just taking that one shot overhead just like this, make sure that you're kind of working around the beanbag. Again, we don't want to be shooting up baby, but I always like to be shooting down and shooting from the shadows and then shooting from the light, shooting straight on, just to make sure that you are able to maximize this one pose, this one light setup to get a great variety for your clients. So from the flip taco, we're going to be going into the side lay, and I really am keeping the lighting virtually the same. I'm just going to show you how I go into that. I'm going to take the wedge, stick it right under again. Oh, actually it's still there. I'm going to take baby. Place both hands together. So again, with side lay, we're always trying to make sure our baby's head is in line with the light. If I've placed baby too far back, or or sorry, too far forward or too far back from the light, it's going to make a huge, huge difference. What I'm really looking for is that 45-degree light on the beanbag. If you're wanting to do 90-degree lighting, it definitely has a very, very different look to what you're going to be getting. You're going to be getting will be getting lit from the head down. You're going to have dark pockets under baby's eyes, and you're going to be having a really, really, really deep butterfly under baby's nose. I like just the subtle lighting, so I prefer to go for a lighter, airier look, which I find 45-degree lighting gives me. And because I love shooting on the beanbag with my 50, switch back, and always making sure that you remember to change your settings when you switch back, because it's very easy to forget, and then you take a whole bunch of shots and they're really underexposed or overexposed or just not the right settings. So I always like try to take one and then I continue. Now, what I love about this pose too is there's so many variations to it, and even just if I change where I'm situated, it will definitely look different. So I just want to show you just a couple. Okay, and then again, you just want to change where you are too, just taking advantage of the pose always. Yeah, that would be a simple side lay. So when you have baby in side lay, it's probably one of the easiest poses that you can do, and it's probably one of the most versatile because there's lots of different variations that you can do with baby's arms and baby's legs. You can have baby's feet together, you can have them crossed, you can have baby have a hand on a cheek, you can have baby hand on a hip, you can have this hand under cheek or together. So many different variations that you can change up to make the shot. You can add hats, you can add different wraps. I find it to be probably the most versatile pose that you can use in your arsenal of poses. So that leads us to tushy up pose. It's another great pose I love to do. With this pose, you're gonna need 2 rolled up towels or two beans, and it's a pose that I always have baby do only if they're going to be comfortable with it. Sometimes babies, if they're kind of fussy to begin with, putting them on their belly they're not going to love. So I always try doing it in my hands first before I actually place them on the beanbag. What you're going to notice is that my lighting really doesn't change a whole lot in all the poses on the beanbag. That's really good. It makes things really easy. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop baby into that tushy up pose. So what I'm going to do is just pop these posing beans just under all my drops here. I would say I try to have them about the width of my hand apart. All right, so for tushy up. Now, standing baby doesn't quite bend her back like a normal baby does. So we're going to do as much of tushy up as we can with the doll we're using. Most babies have a great bend in their back, so they're able to arch it. But not all babies will arch, and not all babies will do this pose. So just be mindful of that too. Okay, so as you can see, I still have the light gliding down baby. got the shot. And then again, doing multiple shots, multiple different angles, tilting your camera different ways just to see all the different angles you can get instead of just that straight on shot. It's going to be so empowering for you once you get that. Just making those tiny little tilts and modifications makes such a difference with your angles. And so other things you can do, what I often will do is a lot of the time, especially with boys, they'll have, if they're naked, they have their bits kind of hanging out. Sometimes they get a little bit hard to tuck, so I always try to do a few shots with a baby in like an outfit, or I have a lot of wraps and stuff that I would put behind. And so I do a lot of poses where I have the cheesecloth trailing off behind and I have it just sort of tucked around here. Because I'm shooting at such a wide open depth of field and aperture that I love that when it sort of fades off, the trail of the wrap just trails off too, and it's beautiful. My clients absolutely love this image. It's probably one of my most requested ones. And what I like to do with this pose too is I like to stand up and take it from all sorts of different shots and angles. Get a little further back. And as you can see, I sometimes have to get right into my light. Don't be afraid of getting in there. If you need to get the shot and you're trying, like I'm really getting up into my light. Because I want it to be nice and soft. The closer my light is to my backdrop, the softer it's going to be. And just remember that. So if you're finding that you're getting these really, really harsh shadows and you can't figure out why, look at the distance that you've got between your backdrop or your backdrop stand here and your light, because the closer it is, the softer it's going to be. So Huck Finn is a great one. Again, it's just a really, really simple transition. We're not really playing with our light a whole lot. We're just moving baby. So from this position, I will typically just sort of rotate baby onto back. Again, when you're rolling baby, being mindful of their shoulders, because little shoulders, their little joints could easily become disjointed or out of joint, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we always know where their little arms are when we're moving them. So as you can see, this baby's arm would be right way back here. I'm going to have to bend it in its range of motion that it would do in order to bring it around the front. So you just have to be really, really, really mindful of their little shoulders and just be really gentle. Okay, so we're just going to sort of roll baby over here. And my goal for this one is to have baby's bum nice in the air. So for this one, I will take another wedge. Actually, the wedge is right there already. And I'm just going to slide it just under baby, just elevate it slightly. And so we've got baby's legs just folded up here, kind of crisscrossed over each other, holding together into a perfect Huck Finn. Now you will find that, you know, babies with their feet in the air, if they're completely naked and on their back, they startle very easily. So a lot of the times I will end up doing this as a composite if baby isn't super still, if they're kind of jerky and sort of in that REM cycle where they're still moving a lot. I'll just have mom or dad come in and hold the little toe right here, and I'll just Photoshop that out. But what I like to do also, if I don't have baby fully clothed, obviously their little goods and bits are hanging out, I always have my cheesecloth, my different wraps available, and I will just wrap up their little tushy like that, and you've got the option of having it just stuffed right under there. A lot of the times I'll use the extra wrap here just to sort of pop up that hip just so it's nice and supported there, and just making sure that wrap is nice and tight and making sure that baby is lit from the right way. I haven't changed my lighting at all. I'm virtually placing baby in the same spot, so I'm not really having to change a whole lot, and baby's ready to go. With this, you can really change things up just where you're putting yourself. You don't have to change your lighting really at all. If you wanted to tilt baby's head slightly up, you can change where you're shooting from. And you can see, like, I'm right in front of my light. You can turn backdrop slightly. And really we're making sure that we're not taking the angle up the nose. I just want to show you the up the nose angle. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And again, taking advantage of all the different angles that you can get. You can stand up, take one here. Take one further back. See, again, as I'm getting closer to baby, I'm always making sure I'm putting my camera strap over. Getting nice and close. And so where I'm actually focusing on when I'm shooting is the baby's eyelashes. Of course, stand-in baby doesn't actually have eyelashes. I'm just looking for the contrast in the eye sockets just to grab, they have something to grab focus on. What you're just going to want to be really mindful when you're shooting this is that the head and the feet are on the same focal plane. Otherwise, you're going to have the feet out of focus or the face out of focus when you're shooting.